Hey, what's up? Welcome back after the holidays. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. Um, we took a few days off and we're back. It's Monday following Christmas, and we have the new project. And this is, oh, the motor's in my back. Salvadore, the silver C10. This is his dad's 63 Chevy Pickup that he had at a paint shop slash mechanic shop slash wiring quote unquote specialist, and this is where we are. Motor is supposed to be rebuilt, and so far it doesn't look like it was. And there's a few signs immediately right off the bat, like they didn't put a balancer on it, so the crank snout is like rusting over pretty bad. Like you could see it all the way in there, to the point of where it's like almost a flake. Cylinder heads being black and the block and the intake being orange. I don't know what that's all about. And then for me, a big sign is like there's not even a chance I would reuse this thermostat housing and that old thermostat. Quadrajet, never rebuilt. Or this is a Carter AFB. Let's see. Where are you? Yep, Quadrajet, right there. You could see where it's got the old gaskets that were leaking, some fuel. Like these are actually pretty good carburetors. Came on a lot of the 350s. We used to swap them out back in the day. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. He's got a lot of money into it. I boroscoped 2 cylinders, I believe 4 and 1. One was kind of all the way up at the top. But I did get a picture of the cylinder wall, which you can see there's like a big ring. I'll post the picture right here. And then on cylinder 4, which I'll post the picture, the piston was farther down. You could actually see the top of the piston. It's a stock OEM piston that was cleaned up, put back in, and you can see the cylinder walls have a lot of scoring. And I'll put that picture in. So we came down today. I pulled the truck in this bay and got everything unbolted. Lucky for me, in a sense, the only thing I was hooked up was the inlet for the fuel to the fuel pump. There's literally nothing else on this entire motor. No radiator hoses, no spark plug wires, no nothing. So I started by unbolting the converter. One bolt was down in the center, so I got that one out pretty easy, pretty quick. And then I took and turned the balancer bolt in to where it stopped. And I mean, I pretty much hung on the end of the ratchet and it would not turn over. So I took all the plugs out, hosed it with WD-40, let it sit for, it was probably an hour while I got all the bell housing bolts, the motor mount bolts, got all that stuff out. And then sprayed a bunch more WD-40 in there. Took a pry bar, basically like a 4-foot long pry bar, and I wedged it up, which is not the greatest thing to do, but I wedged it up behind the crank and the flex plate, and it took pretty much everything I had to get this motor to turn over, which is still very, very tight. Like it is not happy. So, hold on. So yeah, I mean, the motor's not happy. Even right now, it's extremely hard to turn over. So whether the rings were rusted to the walls, the bearings are rusted to the crank, or the bearing tolerances are just retardedly tight, I have no idea. But we're getting ready to get it on the engine stand. I'm gonna drain the oil, take the flex plate off, get the starter off, get it on the engine stand, and then pull the pan. Yeah, I'm just gonna start tearing everything off the motor. So the owner, Salvadore, has agreed to tear the motor down, have it looked at least by a machine shop. If I tear it down, it's basically like a pile of rust. I mean, to me, it's a waste of time, but it's up to him. So I'm going to start tearing into this, and I'll be back. All right, so I got the motor tore down pretty. Here's the inside of that water neck, and there's the thermostat. So, I mean, whoever did that really didn't care much for anything. They did use all new gaskets. So I took the carburetor and the fuel pump as one, just took it off the intake. Took the intake off, valve covers, water pump, the headers, motor mounts, everything's there. The head gaskets, I'm not sure, I haven't done small blocks in so long, but I have to ask Rob. Both are labeled right hand, and I'm pretty sure that maybe not, but I thought one was left hand, one was right hand for something. I can't remember what it was, but for something. But it's late, as you can see, it's getting dark, so I got the heads off. Couple things I noticed on one of the heads, one of the valve spring keepers is not locked in. It's got to be this one over here. It looks like they were decked. It's pretty rough surface, but that kind of depends on the tooling that you use. Yeah, there it is. So that keeper right there, you can see it's like completely out compared to that one. That's both those are in. That one's all the way out. So that would have been bad right there. Probably as soon as I either started turning the motor over or it fired up, it probably would have dropped that valve into the cylinder. And I'm not a machinist for engines, but the exhaust valves don't look right. You can see that one's almost flush to the intake valve, sitting barely above it. That one's way above it. Then this one is kind of half in between way and flush. That one way above it. Same with this cylinder head. They're all different heights. Almost like they didn't machine the seats in far enough or something. So I'm gonna have Rob look at that. They are used springs. The valves are used. On the exhaust side, definitely. But the intake side, I would say, are new, which is weird. It's a 2-bolt main, so it's nothing special. But this orange crap is like grease. It's not assembly lube. Like, it's disgusting. And you can see all the rods are still in it because I started taking those two out, and they were like, I had to beat them out of the cylinder. Normally you could just kind of tap them and they'll slide out, and once the rings come out, piston will basically fall out. Those would not. I had to hit them the entire way out. These are the new lifters that they use. They're just cheap replacement lifters, and other than my greasy hands being on them, there's nothing on them. There's no oil, no assembly lube, and these are flat tappet hydraulic lifters. So these need to have assembly lube, at least on the camshaft, which has absolutely nothing on it. There's no oil, there's no assembly lube, there's nothing. Almost looks like in the, well, I mean, it's just a camera, but no, it's all good. But that'll wipe the camshaft out like immediately. So that is definitely not good. There's no stamp on it, like no no numbers or nothing, so I'd assume it's like a stock replacement. So I'm actually bringing all this home, finish tearing the pistons out of it, get the crank out of it, and then in the morning I could shoot up to a Koi and see what Rob could do with this stuff. I don't know, I'm a bit sketched out, but now it's like I wouldn't assemble that motor. I wouldn't have him assemble that motor without Magnaflux and the block, the crank, the rods, everything, because the rods and the pistons were sandblasted, which to me is a big no. They're press pins, so I didn't really look at them too good. Let's take a look at them. So I mean, you can see they just sandblasted everything on them. But the wrist pins feel good as far as moving in the pistons, but they're not new pistons. They're just stock with some paint. The cylinder walls all have paint. That's what I saw. It wasn't actually rust. They're not rusty. Painted, which I'll take some pictures. But that's it for now. I'll either update tomorrow or the next day on which direction we're gonna go, and the Monte Carlo is very close. We got a ton done on that, waiting on parts. So for now, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified of new videos. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.